You feel confused, guilty, and anxious, but you can't name a single thing they did wrong. So why is it that the most subtle manipulation is often the most damaging? Well, that's the dark psychological paradox of covert manipulation, a system designed to influence you by hiding its actions in plain sight. So that's what we're going to do here. Deconstruct these hidden patterns. Look, this isn't about obvious threats or, clear demands. It's about something much quieter, much more insidious. It's a form of psychological control that works because it's designed to be invisible. It makes you question your own reality, all while the manipulator gets to maintain this perfect image of complete innocence. Okay, so here's our roadmap for this explainer. We'll start with that emotional paradox, the paradox of pain. Then we'll define exactly what covert manipulation is. After that, we'll dive deep into its core mechanism, something called the fog of confusion. Then we'll look at the psychology behind why it works, how to reclaim your reality, and we'll end on what might be the most important piece of data in all of this, your own discomfort. All right, let's start right there with that feeling, the paradox of pain. You know what I'm talking about. It's that deep, gut-level sense that you're being mistreated, that something is just wrong. But here's the kicker. When you try to find the evidence, it's like smoke. It just vanishes. There are no angry texts to point to, no clear insults, no obvious line that's been crossed. All you have is this intense emotional pain on one side and their complete plausible deniability on the other. And that clash right there between what you feel and what you can prove, that's the foundation of this entire system. It's designed to make you feel like you're fighting a ghost until eventually you start to believe that maybe the ghost is just in your own head. So what do we actually call this thing, this whole phenomenon? Well, it has a name. And just giving it a name is a huge first step toward dismantling it. It's called covert manipulation. And when you look at the formal definition, you start to see exactly why it's so incredibly effective. Now, the key words here are absolutely critical. Systematic. That means this isn't an accident. It's a pattern of behavior, not just a one-off bad mood or some simple miscommunication. Then you have indirect and subtle. That's the camouflage. See, the goal is control, but the method is designed to make sure the target doesn't even know they're being influenced. This kind of behavior is often a hallmark of people with narcissistic or passive-aggressive traits because it allows them to dominate a situation while looking completely blameless, sometimes even like they're the real victim. And this really gets to the core objective. The goal isn't to win an argument. It's not to make a clear demand. I mean, a direct order, you can see that. You can resist it. No, the goal is to create a constant, low-grade state of confusion and anxiety in the other person. And why would they do that? Well, because a confused mind is an obedient mind. Just to escape that awful feeling of discomfort, the target eventually gives in. They comply with whatever the manipulator's unspoken desire is. And that just reinforces the whole pattern. It's not about winning one battle, it's about creating an entire environment of control. So what are the tools they use to build this confusion? Well, you've probably seen some of these. There's playing the victim, which completely flips the script and makes them seem like the one who's hurt. Then you've got the silent treatment, a really powerful punishment that works without a single word being spoken because it taps into our primal fear of being excluded. There's also feigned ignorance. The whole, who me? I had no idea that would upset you routine. That just creates doubt and makes you feel like you're the one who's being overly sensitive. And of course, nonverbal stuff, a heavy sigh, a look of disappointment. It communicates everything without them ever having to say what the problem is. The key thing is, every single one of these is deniable, and every single one is incredibly effective. So, how do all these little tactics build up into such a devastating cycle? This really brings us to the heart of this explainer. We're going to unpack the engine of this manipulation. We're going to break down the process that manufactures this fog of confusion. And what you'll see is that it's not random at all. It's a systematic, predictable feedback loop. This is it. This is the four-stage cycle that traps a person. It all starts with ambiguity and some subtle baiting. Then it moves to isolation. From there, it forces the target into self-doubt. And finally, it achieves compliance, which, of course, just reinforces the whole loop, making it even stronger the next time around. So let's break these down one by one. Okay, step one. It all starts right here with ambiguity. The manipulator isn't going to say, I'm angry with you. No. Instead, they'll sigh really heavily right when you're talking about something you're excited about. Or they won't say, I don't want you to go out tonight. They'll just get really quiet and withdrawn for like an hour before you're supposed to leave. This is what we call subtle baiting. They're dangling this unspoken problem right in front of you, and they know that an empathetic person is going to feel this immediate, intense pressure to figure out what's wrong and fix it. They're basically creating an emotional vacuum and just counting on you to fill it with your own anxiety and all your effort. So once you're hooked by that bait, the next step is to cut you off from any kind of reality check. The manipulator might even bring in other people, sometimes they're called flying monkeys, to subtly back up their story. You know, a friend might call you up and say, "Hey, John told me he's really worried about you. He says you seem a little unstable lately." And boom, you've just been triangulated. It makes you feel like you're the problem and that everyone else can see it too. This totally isolates you from anyone who might validate your feelings, and it makes the manipulator's version of reality feel like the only one that exists. And this leads to the psychological turning point. You've been baited with these problems you can't quite see. You've been isolated from people who could tell you you're not crazy. So you're left with really only one conclusion. Since there's no concrete evidence of abuse, your logical mind turns inward. The pain is real. You know that. So the source of the pain, well, it must be you. And that's the moment the manipulator wins control. It's when you internalize all the blame and your own mind becomes the cage. And so what happens? You comply. You cancel your plans just to soothe their unspoken sadness. You find yourself apologizing for some crime you didn't even commit, one you can't even name. You just do whatever it takes to make that unbearable feeling of anxiety and guilt go away. And when you do, magically, the mood lifts. And right there, the cycle is reinforced. Your brain learns this really dangerous equation: compliance equals relief. The pattern is now locked in, hidden inside your own mind's reward system. But why? Why is the cycle so devastatingly effective? To really get it, we have to look at the psychology of both the person doing the manipulating and the person being targeted. There's a reason these two dynamics lock together so perfectly, almost like a puzzle, creating this self-sustaining system. Just take a look at this comparison. On one side, you've got the manipulator. What do they want? Maximum control. But they also need plausible deniability to protect their self-image, and they will avoid direct conflict at all costs. Now, on the other side, you have the target. This person often has really high empathy, a deep desire for harmony in their relationships, and, this is key, a compulsive need to solve problems to bring that harmony back. So, the manipulator's unspoken problem becomes a target's urgent mission. It's a perfect but totally toxic fit. One person's need for power without accountability perfectly exploits the other person's deep desire for connection and peace. And this dynamic is what creates and maintains what psychologists call the fog of confusion. And this isn't just a passing feeling, it's an engineered environment. It's this mental and emotional state of constant low-grade anxiety and self-doubt that's so disorienting, so confusing, that the victim literally can't connect the dots. They can't see the systematic pattern of abuse that's happening right in front of them. You know, living in that fog, it feels like you're constantly walking on eggshells, but in a room where you can't even see the floor. Okay, so let's shift gears. We've gone from analysis, now let's move to action. Because understanding the mechanism is critical, yeah, but breaking it, that's the goal. This section is all about empowerment. It's about a concrete, actionable framework you can use to defend yourself and reclaim your reality from that fog. The entire system works by hijacking your emotions, right? Your empathy, your guilt, your desire to help. So the core defense has to be this radical shift in mindset. You have to learn to prioritize observable, objective facts over the emotional storm the manipulator is trying to create. Basically, you have to move from being a reactor to being an observer. You stop asking, what are they feeling? And you start asking, what did they actually just do? And this defense really boils down to two main tactics. It's pretty straightforward. First, document the unspoken. Second, refuse to solve unspoken problems. These two steps are direct counters to the manipulator's go-to moves, ambiguity and baiting. So let's look at exactly how to do them. So, documenting the unspoken, what does that mean? It means creating an external record of your reality. Get a journal, an app, whatever, and be precise. Don't just write, "He was a jerk tonight." That's not data. Write, "At 8:15 p.m., I told him about my good news from work. He sighed, looked away, and changed the subject. Result, I immediately felt a pit in my stomach and a wave of guilt." See? That creates concrete data. And over time, this journal is going to reveal the hidden pattern. It makes it undeniable, and it becomes your best defense against the gaslighting that's trying to convince you it's all in your head. All right, tactic number 2, refuse to solve unspoken problems. So when the manipulator lets out that heavy sigh or gives you that loaded silence, you just refuse to play the guessing game. Instead, you use a simple but really powerful tool. You ask for clarity. Something like, I can see you seem upset. I only respond to clear requests though. What exactly are you asking me to do? This phrase is like their kryptonite. Seriously, it forces them to either make their manipulation obvious, which they hate, or they have to back down and say, oh, nothing's wrong. And that releases you from any responsibility. Either way, you've just broken the cycle. And that brings us to our final and honestly most important point. This is all about reframing your entire experience. Because for so long, that confusion, that discomfort, it feels like a personal failing, right? Like a sign that you're the one who's broken or just too sensitive. But we have to start seeing it for what it actually is. It's not a flaw, it's a signal. Yeah, let this one really sink in. That feeling of confusion, that gut sense that something is deeply wrong even when you can't point to a single thing, that feeling is the evidence. It's the smoke that proves there's a fire. A manipulator's power comes from being invisible. Their main tactic is to create a problem that can't be seen. So it makes sense, right? The feeling of being trapped by an invisible problem, that's the primary symptom of their control. It is the alarm bell your psyche is ringing, trying desperately to get your attention. So let's put all the pieces together. What we've seen is that covert manipulation relies on these hidden patterns of ambiguity, and it uses them to create that debilitating fog of confusion. And we know how the pattern works now, right? The subtle baiting exploits a person's empathy, and it forces them into that terrible cycle of self-doubt. But here's the good news. Awareness is what breaks the loop. When you start documenting the unspoken, when you start demanding clarity, you completely dismantle their plausible deniability. You take back your control. The single biggest takeaway from all of this is that your internal compass, that feeling of discomfort, it was never the problem. It was never a flaw. It was a perfectly functioning perception system. Your discomfort is the data. Trust it.